speaking of spotlighting players, you asked who is the best player on your team nobody is talking about. And I can tell you there were a lot of responses, which is good. I like fans putting on for their guys. But let's go to our first one. This one comes from Bill, who says Mayan Williams and Tommy Eichenberg. Take your pick, RJ.
Well, I like Tommy Eichenberg here. I also want to give flowers to Mayan Williams because this is not a dude that many people expected to be the guy that he's become in the last couple of years. Evan Pryor coming in, right? He was going to be a guy they lost into a season-ending injury to start the season. And Travion Henderson, a dude that I've been way ahead on coming out of Hopewell because I'm going, nobody's seen a tailback like this coming out of Virginia, maybe ever. And the comp at the time was Christian McCaffrey, and I still think that works. He's put on some more weight. He's a heavier runner now, so he looks more built like Zeke than he does a slender pass-catching back that's going to, return punts and kicks. But Mayan is answered the bell when Travion's been injured, putting up 189 in a game here recently. And they need both. They're going to need both of those guys to be that guy. And when Master Teague was not looking like Master Teague toward the end, you had Travion Henderson step up. I want to get Mayan Williams there. But I also have really come to love what Tommy Eichenberg has become for the Buckeyes. I want to make sure that I get this right, Tyler, because I was giving this some thought, and I really wanted to nail this one because Jim Knowles coming in his first year, I didn't expect it to go well because it took 3 years for that defense to catch hold at Oklahoma State. And frankly, he hasn't had to put much of the playbook in at Ohio State because, well, they're just that talented and they're just that savvy at playing the game of football. But Tommy Eichenberg gets this defense and apparently finds his way. He becomes the first Ohio State Buckeye to win Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week in 2 years. This is early in September. This is after the Wisconsin game. He's got 50 tackles through 6 games. He had 47 all of last year. He didn't play much at all in the 2020 year. And all of a sudden, that is the dude that is leading your defense. I think of him as Malcolm Rodriguez was at Oklahoma State, a do-everything, under-recruited kind of player that's, I don't want to say you're under-recruited when you go to Ohio State, but you get my point here. Not necessarily a dude that you're expecting to be the guy leading the defense, but that's who he has become. I think he's got like 6 tackles for loss and 2.5 sacks. And having a dude that can seek and destroy in that 4-2-5 has been everything to that defense, along with Tanner McAllister, who I think deserves his flowers, being a grad transfer and really helping Jim Knowles be a grad assistant on the field for them. But I did not expect to see Tommy Eichenberg being a dude that could win a Butkus Award or a Bednarik Award. And provided he plays well against Iowa, going into November, I expect him to be mentioned as one of the better linebackers in all of college football.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think about. He comes from a great football family. His brother, Liam, currently plays for the Dolphins. He played left tackle at Notre Dame, and he was really, really good. And I know that his brother wasn't too happy that Notre Dame didn't pursue Tommy, but I don't know what kind of looks Tommy was getting. Like you said, how could you be under-recruited when you go to Ohio State? Well, he did play in their backyard. He's from Cleveland. He went to St. Ignatius High School. And I don't think he was getting nearly as many looks as his older brother, Liam, did when he was coming out of high school. And now, he's really excelling at Ohio State. And you look at what Ohio State did last year, their biggest flaw was their linebackers. They couldn't stop the run. A big portion of that was their linebackers. And I think coming into this season, the national media didn't have a ton of respect for that linebacking core. Their linebacking coach last year, Al Washington, got fired. And we know about all the turnover there on defense. So I don't think expectations were that high. And now all of a sudden you've got Tommy coming in, having an awesome year. And you're right, he's up there for multiple defensive awards. And it is kind of funny that Mayan Williams is also in this discussion because he did have 5 touchdowns like 3 weeks ago. That just shows you, man, Ohio State is moving different. They're a machine. But honestly, everyone on that team deserves some credit, and looks like we're giving it to him now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the found money that is a great defense, the top 10 scoring defense, you're living your best life. You're an Ohio State fan, because when Jim Knowles got this job, they weren't asking for the moon. They were just saying, hey, make us respectable enough to where we can go out and not feel like the offense has to score 50 to win the game. Make us feel as if we're going to be in every game we play, and they have been. They haven't given up more than 21 in any game this year, while the Buckeye offense has been setting records. Scored like 77 against Toledo and put up 700 yards. It's been stupid. Like that's what they're able to do. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Ohio State is the only SEC team above the Mason-Dixon line.
It's hard to argue with that. This one comes from Corey Hill, who gave another dual response, which is kind of funny. A lot of people gave two when you asked for one. Corey said offense, Jordan Whittington, and on defense, Ryan Watts.
Okay, so for the uninitiated, Jordan Whittington was always supposed to be this dude. He's blossoming in this offense after a year within it. But anybody that saw Jordan Whittington in high school was like, where are you going to put him? Is it tailback? Is it slot? Is it on the numbers? He can play defense. He's turned into that kind of guy. And I think Marcus Washington choosing to transfer to Nebraska also helps him here. I also think that Tyler Owens choosing to transfer has helped him a bit. But like, I looked at Jordan Whittington and I just said, it's going to happen. It's about where he is in the offense and what the offense is trying to do. And I think not necessarily having a dude at tight end has really opened up that offense a bit. And then you have Quinn Ewers, who's frankly the best quarterback that they've had since Colt McCoy at Texas. But the dude that I want to harp on here is Ryan Watts. Ryan Watts, you'll know, committed to Texas. At one point, it looked like he was looking at OU. And then he ends up at Ohio State, right, where he plays well, but goes into the portal, comes out, returns back to his home state. He's from Little Elm. And I was really bullish on him in this Pete Kwiatkowski defense. The difference is I didn't know how the secondary was going to look because, well, I mean, Jimmy Lake and Pete Kwiatkowski did the thing at Washington, and I wasn't sure what the split was going to do for the secondary. And they were bad last year. They were giving up 450-plus yards per game. And this year, they have stuck Ryan Watts at the boundary and said, son, you're going to be on your own. And he said, bet, I got it. I'm going to lock down the boundary. And for those of you that like the football nerd of this, you'll enjoy. The hash marks are different in the NFL and in college football, and they matter, right? Because it just means that the boundary is going to be a little bit narrower or wider depending on which sport you're playing. But either way, if you're playing college football, we're going to roll the defense toward the field because we need to be able to cover this 60%. That means we have to be able to trust the guy playing corner to play press man and to run with people, get his head around, and get his hands on the football. And you saw what that meant for Texas in 2022 when he went out against Iowa State. They did not have somebody ready-made to just go lock down one side of the field. And for the folks that are really asking about boundary versus field, why don't you want to put the better corner at the field? Because the better corner should not need help, right? That's it. And you're going to try to squeeze the sideline. You're going to try to use that as your other safety, but that's just not how it works. If somebody can run past you, they're usually going to do it. And that's an easier throw for the quarterback to make because it's to the near side of the field. There's no deep out he has to throw that, is the NFL arm you have to have. There's just a lot of work. And then you got to come downhill if you're playing in a cover two. If you're playing in a quarters coverage, you're going to have to fly. If you're playing in a cover three, you're going to have to fly and bend. Ryan has developed into one of the better, longer cornerbacks that the NFL values because the length that he has and the speed that he has makes him a giraffe out there that can run like a lion. And I'm really having a good time watching a dude that I got to know in high school. You dig deep on the YouTube channel, you can find a few interviews that I did with Ryan Watts. But I was very excited to see him at Ohio State because at the time, I think Jeff Hafley was still the dude, and we knew what that secondary was doing at the time. And now he's found himself once again at the University of Texas as they are trying to make themselves into a Big 12 champ for the first time. And my goodness, we're going on 2009, 13 years. And a lot of that is because that dude decided to transfer down there and make it work at boundary corner.
Yeah, I have nothing more to add to that. Also, other than I want to ask, is Ohio State now a pipeline for Texas? They just going to go in there every year?
Man, Ohio State has been Texas has been a pipeline for Ohio State. Think about it this way. J.K. Dobbins, Texas. Garrett Wilson, Texas. I keep going down the line here. The number of dudes that Ohio State has pulled out of Texas, and by the way, Florida, is going to send most Oklahoma and Texas fans into a frenzy. My favorite story to go out on this one real quick. I love telling this story, so I'm going to tell it again. Garrett Wilson is from Austin, Texas, or he's from Ohio, but he played high school football at Austin, Texas. And he's asked, why aren't you going to Texas? Why did you choose to go to Ohio State? And he says straight up, because I want to be developed. I fell out laughing because at the time you have to remember the last first round draft pick that Ohio State put out at wide receiver, right? Anthony Gonzalez. That was the last one. Okay. They had two go in that draft, but he was the last one. Ted Ginn and then Anthony Gonzalez at 31st overall. Anthony Gonzalez is like a senator or congressman in the state of Ohio now. It had been that long. And then Garrett Wilson has developed into a first-round draft pick alongside Chris Olave. You know how much I enjoy Brian Hartline in that story, but goodness me, yes. Texas, like, finally, we got one back, and then we got another one back. This is what you get. And Ohio State's like, sure, have them. It's fine. We're going to reload. It's okay. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.